I can start?
Yes, please.
Okay, sure. Okay, a formal welcome to all my panelists. Very happy and lucky to have all of you here. Uh, so, uh, uh, idea is that this session is dedicated to talking about discussing talent issues in the industry, logistics industry. And what I request all of you is let us share your ideas for about 10 odd minutes, and then we will have discussions amongst ourselves and then discussion with the audience. So let me briefly introduce all my panelists here, starting with Dr. Sharmila. So she is the managing director of Bertling Logistics. She began her career with a very renowned firm like AFL, has handled different responsibilities in various departments. Over the last 30 years, she has executed many projects in power generation, petrochemical, fertilizer, automobile, oil and gas, and many others. She's really a inspirational woman leader in logistics business, and obviously considered to be one of the first and most successful personalities in the logistics industry. So welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Femina, my second panelist, she is the director of HR and at Uniworld. She is the co-founder of Uniworld Logistics, and Uniworld Logistics currently operates from more than 30 destinations, one of the leading logistics providers in India. Ms. Femina she is born in a business family, did her commerce degree from Mount Carmel and master's from Bangalore. She is a linguist of sorts, has an interest in languages and people skills, and that has helped her in motivating workforce in the organization. And she regularly conducts training programs, particularly in communications and also logistics industry specific. So welcome, Ms. Femina.
Thank you so much.
My third panelist is Mr. Sandeep Narayan. Sandeep is Chief Retail Officer at Shoppers Stop. Very experienced and accomplished professional in retail and other market experiences in India and abroad. Has focused on growth, transformation, day-to-day business operations. He's an expert in strategic planning with tactical expertise, over 20 years of industry experience, and has a very positive entrepreneurial attitude to build long-term value for the organization and for the industry. So welcome, Sandeep.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, my next panelist is Dr. Karthik Shah. He's the regional head of APAC Logistics at Sennheiser. He is a performance-driven supply chain professional with more than 20 years of very diverse experience in really everything: logistics management, inventory management, customs, process improvement, international logistics, team management, cost optimization, price negotiations. Very happy to have you, Karthik, and welcome.
Thanks. Just one correction: it's just Karthik Shah, not Dr. Karthik Shah. Thank you so much.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. And very last but not the least, let me also introduce Sanjay Gautam. Sanjay has been with Ashok Leyland. So very welcome to you, Sanjay.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, and so let us start the session, and let me invite Sanjay to share his views for about first 10 minutes or so. Will that be okay?
Perfect.
All right. See, I'll just share with what we do in manpower domain for logistic companies. I represent a value addition part of the aftermarket. I head one of the driver training institutes in Delhi, in Gorari. We are almost churning around 80,000 driver trainings a year. And in this, we have around 12 DTIs across India, where we do around 2.5 lakh worth of trainings a year. What we have seen over the years, technology has improved from BS4 directly to BS6. Then we look at various crunch which we had because of the oxygen issues last year. A training and a trained driver is a very a must and a very required commodity as of now. What we see, we also look at BS6. BS6 driving or BS6 vehicle per se is a very different ballgame from a conventional BS3 or BS4 or even BS2 vehicles. Technology has suddenly changed. All the various parameters of a vehicle we can see on a instrument panel of a truck. And if a driver doesn't know, or if he's not educated enough to understand what exactly which light glows or telltale indicator, what it donates, how will he do a corrective action? So with this as a background and looking at the various training requirements like road safety, accident rates, I have some data of Rajasthan of 2 years back. Rajasthan almost, they are clocking 10,000 accidents deaths a year. And although it is decreasing, it's showing a decreasing trend. And almost around 23 to 24,000 accidents a year. So this is a huge number what we look at. And how do we correct that? Maybe road safety, driver training, periodic driver training, refresher courses, RPL, that's a recognition of prior learning. All those things we have to put. Now, next part comes for a major area for any logistic companies, availability of a skilled manpower. Maybe it's a driver, or it's a operator, or it's a supervisor. What we do, we give a training as per the technical. We give a technical training to the drivers, and it is as per the Ministry of Road Transport or CMVR guidelines. Based on that, we also ensure that the drivers which we train, they get properly placed if they are not working at any place as of now. So to match the technical change or improvements or the new developments, we are also trying to ensure that drivers are equivalently trained. And by getting a driver from some pockets where this Chacha Bhatija type of setup happens, I taught my Bhatija how to drive a truck, and he has also learned all the goods and bads of my driving habits. So from that, we are shifting, we are trying to make a shift towards a driver who is actually properly trained, who has got some minimum hours of training on things like simulator and various tool rooms, and he knows what exactly is under the truck or what exactly is under the vehicle. So this is something what we are trying to do, and this should address the manpower or the crunch of in that segment for the logistic companies. Then we have certain new things which are coming, like artificial intelligence, GPS-based driving habits we can measure. We can develop programs. We also have, right now also we have some programs where we can understand what the driver is doing. Based on that, we can tailor make the driving habits, or tailor make the training needs of the driver. And we also have a gamified solution for that, where in the app he plays a game on various traffic signals or various the corrective action he has to do under various circumstances. So this is one of the very advanced thing which we can do. Then there are companies, I know there are some people who are also providing professional drivers, or they are acting as a middle layer between the logistic company and the source of a driver, like places like us. So this also helps in providing a technically properly trained manpower to the logistic companies, which is coming as a major crunch. I think per 1,000 trucks, the number of available drivers, the technically trained drivers, are very less as of now, which it used to be almost matching around 10 years back. So this is from my side. Maybe once we discuss further, we can move ahead on this. Then Logistics Skill Council, last thing, the people like Logistics Skill Councils or various bodies like this, they have to also play a very active role in providing or in ensuring that the proper drivers are available for them for the business. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sanjay. So anybody has a quick comment on this, or we push everything after everybody has already expressed their opinion? Let us do that, no? Let us do that. So, okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your views, Sanjay. So now let me invite Ms. Femina to share her views. Ms. Femina.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. We're seeing a big workforce drop in the logistic industry. We are facing a big crunch in the logistic industry, both the blue-collar workers as well as the white-collar workers. So the blue-collar workers, because they're very seasonal, every season they move away and we don't find them. And every time there are new workers coming in. So that is also, we are facing a crunch. And in white collars, we are facing an unemployable crunch. That is, they are not at all trained. So in Europe, they are trained on the ground level in logistic industries to come and work. But here they are unemployable because even though they have degrees, they are not very employable. We see a lot of engineers coming in, but they are not employable because no training has been done, and the logistic colleges are not adequate in India to give that sort of training. So, and a lot of the logistic companies do not give an internship because the internship is there for 1 or 2 months, which is very useless. Because by the time they get into the internship, they are ready to leave, which also is very, unpredictable for us, and we can't keep such people. So if colleges would give them at least 3 months to come and work, it would be good. And in Universal Logistics, we did a small experiment with blue-collar workers. So in our Sri Perambudur unit, we were facing blue-collar workers crunch. So we went to the nearby villages, spoke to the panchayats, spoke to everybody, and we talked to women over there. And we employed the women, local women over there. We empowered them, and we had a working force ready for us. And even till today, the women are one of the most, you can even say, the smartest and the best workers. So this experiment also we did with the white collar workers. We did with graduates in the village, but that did not go so well because after 3 or 4 years, the girls were ready to get married and then they did not want to pursue their careers. So that became a little problem for us. So because this is not a glamorous field like IT, so people want to stay on. So women, I feel if the workforce, even in our freight forwarding offices, our women are one of the best employees. So if women can be encouraged to come to this part of the employment, it'll be wonderful. So I guess when your colleges and everybody employs, we can have more women coming in and training them, as some CIA can help train a lot of women into this industry, we will be much, much better, I feel. So, so that's the thing. And also because of the pandemic, the customers changed. So there has become we have become more online than offline. So the timelines have changed. So the shipping has changed. We have got more and more people coming in. So we are facing a crunch even in there because the bigger players have taken everybody and they're focusing only on one small job. Like if you take an Amazon, so they're only picking. Okay, they're not packaging, they're not labeling. So when this workforce leaves that company also, they become useless in terms of other companies, for MSMEs, for other people, because they know only one job. They become like the Charlie Chaplin movie where they can only turn one nut. That's it. So that they also become a scalable workforce who can be trained to work across jobs would be also good. So most of the bigger companies are actually rendering the workforce a little useless because they are employing them at a greater pricing, but asking them to do only one job. And then they switch that person in 5-6 years, and then we have one useless employee in logistics. So that is also a problem we are facing. So, so we have to maybe, if we can give a lot of internships to deserving students in the logistic industry, and but we have to have a commitment from these students that they will stay on and work their internship with us. I think a lot of us will be ready to give some placements to them, as well as we will not be facing the crunch. Maybe in 1-2 years when a lot of us let go, we will have a lot of employable workforce ready in the market. Okay? So maybe anything else you want to
Sure. Thanks for the opening remarks. Thank you. Okay, now let me invite Karthik to share his ideas. Karthik, over to you.
Yeah, so I hear them out both to Sanjay as well as to Famina, and my views are also in line with that. And this is how like-minded people work. So thank you for bringing in that forward, and that will help me to take it forward. So in a way, if I look at what should be the future roadmap or how talent needs to be fulfilled in terms of with vision. So what I do as a person or what I had seen in my organization I worked for, like Philips and Honda. Uh, as rightly said, this is not the one industry wherein people prefer to come. So, what as a leader, our responsibility, or as a veteran, our responsibility is that first, rather than only hiring from the top-notch institutes like NEET, IITs, and IIMs, we should also give the opportunity to the institutes which are not big but have good talent pool by providing them internship like Indo-German Academy and various institutes who are running the supply chain as a course now in terms of graduation or post-graduation. So that is one. As a leader, our responsibility is to develop our workforce not only in the office but with the warehouse team and the transporter and the drivers who are doing business with us by having trainings for them during the free time, like driver come and offloading generally takes say 3-4 hours. So we should have a driver training room, which we used to do in Honda as well as in Philips. So we need to create that by our own. That is one thing. Second about human resource, if you ask that why we are not getting the compatible resource when any vacancy come up, what I personally experienced in recent past is that department itself in any of the organization is not expert with the domain requirement. And what is needed is that one who is into the personal department or HR department, organization when hire to them, they should make sure that that person should learn each and every aspect of the organization, so that when any requirement comes, spending hell lot of time to find one junior resource. When look at forward that what are the positive trends which are happening in terms of with the private infrastructure as well as with the government. So I really admire the initiative of government in the form of CI Institute of Logistics, which is up and running since last 6 years, if I remember correctly. Then they tied up with various industry partners, and one of them, which I remember, is Safe Express, who run their institute by the name Safe Educate, dedicatedly for logistics. Then from Ministry of Human Resource and Development, they have developed an app called Swayam, wherein you will find the basic about the logistics, about the operations. And this is how organizations should develop their internal university or educational courses, which should be the mandate for one who is into the operation department to learn about logistics, about the planning, about the operations, imports, exports, customs, which will bring in more visibility and a pipeline of talent, which keep the continuity of the organization. And last but not the least, in terms of where we are heading, as rightly said by Femina, that they are they are just coming in for 2 weeks or a month. In that time, even they don't know about the organization as a whole. So rather than once in 3 years, it should happen that from the first year itself, after 6 months, they should come for internship. And there should be a commitment that if they're coming to the organization, it should be of 3 terms, like they should come every 6 months to the same organization. That way they will learn and they would able to give their inputs and their learning with that education capabilities, which are more like technology driven now, AI, machine learning, and so on and so forth. So this is from my side.
Thank you, Karthik. Thank you. Noted your comments. So thank you. Okay, over to you, Sandeep.
Yeah, right. Likewise, like Karthik mentioned, and each one of us has thoughts which are quite similar to the overall approach we should have towards taking the talent aspects. Since I come from a consumer-facing part of the overall panel, I think I represent an operating team in an operations world where a lot of the services which the great logistics teams across the country and the world do, we take those services and then cater to the consumer. So I just wanted to start with one point saying that the consuming class is changing, and that's where I think the talent deficit is very large. And from a world where the consumer was protected maybe from seeing a logistics partner's delivery capabilities, now you have logistics partners also front-ending deliveries and front-ending the consumer connect. So that's a big change in terms of, but also an opportunity. I believe that if you look at it, logistics sometimes, and we still are skeptical of the word, saying that, is it an industry of pride? Should somebody commit? And you see in the industry, the youngsters need to come back to an industry to believe that there is an industry of pride. When you start connecting with the customer and when everybody, so you are now aware of the media talking about an automated logistics facility, you are able to talk about automated vehicles coming in, and Sanjay spoke about the technology coming in terms of making the drivers drive more comfortable. Your highways and the roadways in India is changing. The life of a driver, the life of a logistics partner is getting more effective in terms of being able to live a life which is much more smoother. So I will just take a few steps back and say what is changing. One thing which is changing across, and we'll keep it specific to India, the infrastructure in India is changing. For a long time now, logistics is now getting a credible space of investment. That is supported by whatever else is happening in the structural reforms from the governmental side, as well as structural reforms which a lot of private organizations taking. They are believing in automation. They are believing in making the workforce life more material in the sense that we give credibility to the labor laws in the real sense. The labor laws have to be implemented. The ability to recognize that even a blue collar employee has the rights which they should have always had, right? Breaking down the jinx of they not being able to reach the customers the way they should be. Today, every delivery partner today, logistics is going to a 10-minute delivery module, right? Each one of us wants logistics to go from a cyclical environment to an environment on just in demand. That's a huge change, and that inspires a lot of youngsters. From a digital quotient per se, today the world is becoming technology savvy. We have a workforce which has not over a period of time, and Ma'am Femina can add value to it, have never been looked at somebody who needs digital knowledge. We've used them as hardcore operating workforce. In a digitally enriched environment of a consumer, we need digital natives to come and work for us. The logistics platforms and the organizations will have the capability of attracting the digital natives into the industry. And that's an important part of how you want to resource your talent. And maybe if you have a talent already resourced, where is that insight and input coming to him so that the industry gets some more digital maturity? Because that's important. The pace will not only come with investing only on hardware infrastructure and hardcore infrastructure, but also in trying to make simplification of the life of logistics partners as well as the delivery modules which are required. The ESG norms are real. India does not talk about it today, but when you're bringing a new workforce and when you're talking about sustainability, environment coalition, and governance, these aspects are important to be inbuilt in how you're creating your workforce platform for and building your talent organization. Because it is important that all of these become part of your overall resourcing mechanism, and these aspects of the business or the logistics revenue models are also taken care of when you're building that talent organization. Two other things which are important, and I'm sure each one of us is very critical about it. One is cost of delivery and also the time of delivery. As the world goes ahead and you have another Ukraine and Russia happening, or you have oil prices the way they fluctuate, the talent which you build in cannot be endless. So you will have to see how your resource, Femina ma'am touched upon it, is multi-resourced, is able to do multiple things at a time when there are needs, rather than having a saying that I want to en masse reroute my track, reduce my workforce because this workforce has a limited voice in this country, and then hire when the need happens. Yes, there are gaps, but you will also have to understand that today's talent, at least at the generation where we all are seeing the younger teams coming up and those institutions coming and building those talent modules and education modules, are creating people who can multitask. That belief in the system that the talent we hire can multitask has to happen in logistics. I was just seeing a film just before the session started where you're talking automated warehousing. Now, automated warehousing immediate impact is, do we need talent to be reduced? No, you need intelligent talent to manage the automated warehouse. Now, where is that journey being taken forward? Technology is easy to build, buy, and settle because it's done by software organizations. It's done by hardcore industrial organizations. When it comes to delivery of the final product to a logistics team, the talent has to be ready before that prep happens. I used to work in an organization called Landmark Group in Dubai. We built one of the largest automated warehousing facility in the GCC, right? And that automated facility was first of its kind in Dubai. And then when we started retraining our talent, right, we had a talent which was there for 15 years, 8 years, 10 years, different timelines. The biggest task was to train the talent to become digitally savvy, to be able to upgrade itself in terms of being able to service the need from the customer. So we start with the customer, take the generational gap. And one big thing I somehow feel that why are we ashamed of saying that we are creating an organization with the largest workforce possible and inspiring them to be part of that industry? Sometimes that inspiration does not happen. We always, when I was growing up, I did not have an option of looking at logistics as an option. Nobody spoke to me about it. We, as the ambassadors of the industry, have to go out in the space. While we want to get interns, but how do you inspire an intern to come and look at logistics and opportunity? How many of us go to the young institutions, talk about it as an industry of choice? It is an industry which happens by chance, or somebody has taken supply chain as an opportunity. But starting at class 12, we should start talking and going and trying to make young minds believe that this is an industry which makes a difference on a country which is on this way forward. These are the few thoughts I have, and I'm open to listening to more thoughts and then take it forward from there.
Sure. Thanks, Sandeep. Thanks. I will come back to you on the industry of choice idea later.
Yeah, Rahul, just one input from my side on Sandeep's point about like branding and promoting the logistic or supply chain as a whole. What few of the big leaders or veterans are doing, at least in North India and now Western India, is they have created the chambers wherein they call in the leaders. They tied up with institutes like XLRI, with CII, and they make sure that one of the member go and give the insights to the college student as well as to CII wherever any platform happens. And that is called Chamber of Visionary Supply Chain Leaders. And many such of things are coming up, and we should regularly participate in that, and we should give our best to the society in that way.
Very good ideas, Karthik. Definitely. What is the Chamber of Visionary?
Chamber of Visionary Supply Chain Leaders.
Supply chain leaders. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice input. Sure. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Then let me invite Dr. Sharmila to share her views, please. Madam, you are muted. Can you unmute, please?
So I come from a very different specialized field of logistics compared to all of you, which is basically projects and oil and gas industry. So for me personally, I feel the transport and logistics, it suffers from a poor image. Working in this sector is not considered a desirable career path, like Sandeep mentioned, for many of us. And the industry, because of this, is still grappling with the essential threat of an aging workforce and no one to replace them. How would you define our logistics and transport? Basically, it's into 6 different verticals, I would put it. One is road, rail, water, air, warehousing, and value-added 3PL services. Now, road comprises of 75% of the workforce, which are these truck owners and all this in the country. In the railway, we have only the government. Of course, 15 more licenses now been issued for private rail operators to come into the market. Water, India is only 1% of the world's market in the maritime transport, in spite of having 124 training institutes in India. So our seafarers comprise about 6% of the world's seafarers. Air, we are only 3%. Warehousing is the fastest growing, there's no doubt about it. Every small player in every small place is putting up these warehouses, CFS, ICDs, thinking this is the boom and we should invest and go into it. And then it's going to become exactly what happened to the shipping industry. There will be too much supply over demand. And the last one is the value added, which is the emerging one, which is 3PLs offering the door-to-door full services of all the above combined 5 services under a 3PL service. So basically, this is how we are looking at a logistics talent crunch. Where do we find it in all these verticals? It's not there. As I said, nobody wants to come into industry. Now, MSMEs which are trying to get into logistics, what is their biggest problem? Finance. Because these kinds of jobs or these kinds of investment require big money to turn around. Because logistics companies are not paying you today upfront or in front or above the thing. Unless you don't deliver, you don't get paid. So finance is the next biggest question of our industry. What are the lessons that one can learn from all this? You know, how do you develop talent in this? The only way, as Femina rightly mentioned, is we have to have better compensation, and you have to find a corporate culture where technology is going to be so important. It will be inescapable. You know, it's something which you cannot escape from. We were just discussing what is the shipping lines now going to do next. You know, compared to now, there's only a cartel of 10 actual big players operating. They went one step ahead and they told me now a container, when it moves, you will even find that it's got a shock. So you can sit in your office and watch that your container actually got a shock. So this is the level of technology which is going to go, and this is how you're going to have people to retain for the container. Now, what are the expectations that people expect from organized logistics player like us? Now, first of all, we have to ensure that we are able to retain these employees. Now, you can see, as she rightly mentioned, you train somebody, you put it sort of money, invest in them, and they just one fine day go away. We had that. I used to work for Panalpina, which was at that time the world's third largest company. And they told us that, you know, India is so many people, so much of talent. Why don't we start having talents in India and then we can send them worldwide? We said, fair enough. We started with 30 people. We went to a B school. We didn't even go to A school because, like she said, the A school people don't want to come to A business school to come into this business. We took 30 people. We had 10 verticals in Panalpina. When I say 10 verticals, you're talking about IT, upstream, downstream, oil, projects, fashion, everything you name it, and it was there. When we finished after 1 year, you know how many people we had left out of 30? We had only 6. Only 6 of them wanted to stay back. And to imagine, we kept them for 1 year, paid for them, trained them, sent them to our offices in Singapore. You know, we 800 offices all over the world. We only had 6. So how do you ensure that there's a pipeline? Unlike Europe, where they start the moment you finish your 12th standard, you go straight into the particular line of business, like you rightly said, the Indo-German Chamber is a standing example of what we Germans do. By the time I finished my graduation at 22, 23, my colleague in Germany is already in the position of a GM because he went when he was 14. Straight into the logistics business. He never bothered to get his BCom, BSc, or whatever degree he wanted. He took the degree for doing his transport logistics, which itself is a degree by itself in those countries. Now, what are the practices that I would say that I learned from a global company? First of all, there's diversity. There is in India, most of the big business houses are either family owned, and they don't have so much of a broad spectrum that people can learn from it. I was on both sides of the table, but the diversity which you see in these multinational companies, you still don't find it in India. Then job specific, like she rightly says, why should you be only one job specific? When you have a talent of so many things, you rotate them and let them move. They never kept us, not a single MD was allowed to stay in a country for more than 3 years. 3 years we had a good country, 3 years we had a hardship country. So we were already removed within 3 years. Then flexibility. You should allow flexible hours. Like she rightly said, the woman's career growth path is going along with her biological growth path. She has to choose. And it's very difficult to choose. Let me put it. It's very, very difficult to choose. You want to do it. You want both of it. You try to balance it, but it's not possible. So that flexibility must be given at least to women, because today, you know, we are only 39% of the global workforce is women. We are not saying treat us differently or to say, but treat us as equal. We don't want anything special. We just want that you treat us equally. And then I said training and learning opportunities, which I never find that we find in this country. As you rightly said, there are institutes. I go to the Balaji Institute in Pune. There's so many of the institutes. When I asked how many women are there in this logistics, I remember 3 years back when I went, there were only 5 women in this out of 650 students. And out of the 650, I asked today, where are they? Most of them have gone into IT companies or into the banking or the NBFCs and all that. Nobody stayed back in the logistics field that they actually graduated out of. So we are still looking, I mean, how do you retain this kind of talent? It's very, very tough. Now look at our project logistics business. We try to get people to train. It's a very, very specialized business, trying to move a 1,000-ton package or trying to move a 600-ton package. It's not a joke. You cannot do it. We are looking at Gati Shakti. We are looking at the Prime Minister helping us to do that. We've looked at even these big, big projects that we're talking about, that the port to the highways, the infrastructure to get ready and all that. We made all that, but we still haven't made to ensure. I'm working right now on a project where there is no road, and we are literally pulling our hair out on how to move a 650, 700 ton package in this country. Why do we manufacture such things when we don't know how to move it? We don't have the roads, we don't have the multimodals, we don't have anything. Then we have a big monsoon period in this country which doesn't permit us to do this. We talk about coastal, we are still not ready. Even if you move it coast to coast, once it reaches the port, how do you move out of the port to the side? So unlike that planning which we are talking about, we have still a very, very long way to go. Really a long way to go. And I just hope that we get the right people, the right infrastructure going in the right direction with a fabulous government who thinks what we want to do. And we really arrived at the real figure of what we are now at our logistics cost. And they are trying. 17 industries, government has set up a special platform called NILIP with a Japanese company to get all these 17 ministries together to tell you today what cargo is moving from where to where. It is now aligned that one ministry is talking to another ministry, and at least we have the data which we never had before. So we actually, they went to these container lines and said, can you please tell us where your empty containers are? And they refused to help. They refused to help. So we may do whatever we want to do, but we don't have a single big shipping company in this country. Nobody even thought about that. Look at the talent that we're losing in just putting up there. And somebody is taking away all our business. And then we are trying to align all these industries together to tell us, you know, what is the cargo that we are moving in? We move such out of the world cargo, and we don't know. So we are hoping with now the new setup, the NILIP and all that is done, that we will probably have a better insight into how attractive the government is going to make this talent for people, to make the logistic industry look so talented and for people to come in. Take our own example. I am the women conveyor for MTOY. We invited so many women out of our 600 members. You know how many lady members have joined? Take a wild guess. I have only 8 members out of 600. Where do I go to search for talent? Where do I go to search for women? They want to come here, do the bank job of 9 to 5 and go home. Nobody has that passion. Nobody has that drive like the men, you know, and let's not go on and on and on harping about it. We know that logistics companies are male dominated. Stop crying about it. We have to learn to respect them. They have to learn to respect us, and they have to make space for us, or we have to make the space ourselves. So retaining talent, getting government to do everything possible for us, they're doing, but it has to come inborn. I personally feel it has to be what you want to do or where you want to be. I was very, very sure where I was going to be in 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year in life. So that's what I always tell other girls, you know, I mean, don't come here for the heck of thinking it's sexy or it's beautiful logistics, or thinking, you know, you're all Amazons and you're all deliveries or you're doing mango dispatches. No, you're not. It's not that. It's very hard work. And to find yourself, you know, like a diamond in the coal mine, you'll have to work your way up. Like Femina is doing. I mean, I think it's a brilliant job what she's doing.
All right. Actually,
did I take longer than my 10 minutes?
No. Actually, less. Actually, you touched upon one of the points that I had noted to be asked to all of you. But you pretty much answered it. You said you're never ever going to get a gender parity in this industry. So, I mean, do we just give up on that, or we continue to try?
Sorry, say it again. I lost the link between you.
Sorry,
I'm what?
One of the questions I had noted down to be asked was about gender parity, but you seem to suggest that, well, there is no point in talking about it because it's never going to happen.
I mean, this is 21st century. We can't keep crying about this. I mean, you have to learn to respect it and say it is a male-dominated industry. And if you want to be in this industry, please find your own way and show the same respect men are showing you, and they will show it to you automatically. I mean, I've been in this, believe me, I'm the only woman in this project logistics even today at this position in India. But, you know, I find it very nice that I go for meetings in big companies like maybe Larsen & Toubro, Siemens and all, and you have to learn to earn that respect. So this is something which I say, again, is personal, it's inborn, and It has to come out of you. The talent has to come out from your own self. You can take a water to a horse, but you can't drink it for it, right? He has to drink it himself.
Yeah.
So I would say the same thing for any women who wants to be in this industry. Please stop crying and ask for gender disparity or we want reservations and all. No, no, no. Please don't do all this now. I mean, men are treating us so nicely. I always say behind all my success are the men in my career. So, you know, I cannot say that they have not been nice. They've been very nice to me.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Sure. Okay. One of the things that we had discussed, and I was anyway going to come back, was how do we know that it's not a sexy industry to be part of. How do we then make this make this as a industry of choice and not an industry that you just land up in?
So, Rahul, I would answer this in my experience. So, in a way, I would say thank to COVID, because that is something which brings supply chain to the forefront, and everyone in the industry or in the organization, starting from CEOs till the accountant, know the importance of logistics and supply chain. And that is where and few of the organization, if you look at which is future driven, like Amazon, Flipkart, or any other e-commerce company, you see that there is nothing called sales, there is nothing called customer service. It's more or less supply chain end to end, whether it is upstream from procurement till last downstream in last mile delivery. Everything is supply chain. And if your systems are not connected, if your systems are not digital savvy, if your processes are not up to date, you are nowhere in that industry. And that's the reason that most of the CEOs or the topmost people in these organizations are someone who have the experience in supply chain. So we are going in the right direction, and COVID really helped in that way. And people are now interested to come in this way, both way in all terms of diversity.
Okay, that's heartening to know. Surely heartening to know. Okay, here is a fun thing for you. I looked up at the topmost most preferred places to work for, right? 2022 list. Do you think there is a logistic organization in the top 10?
Yes.
Okay, can you guess which one? A logistic organization. Best places to work for.
Best places to work for. Marks is there.
You know, I looked at the India specific. India 2022 best places to work.
All cargo.
Yeah, okay, Dr. Sharmila is there.
Apparently the survey had SIS Services, which is a cash logistics supplier.
Oh my gosh.
Another must be DSV, or for that sake you can ask then FSL.
It's global.
No.
Okay, you are Indian origin. You are asking about Indian origin.
Yeah. Okay. In fact, Flipkart was ranked number 11 and DHL was at number 13 in that best places to work for India 2022.
Very nice. Good to know that.
Yeah. See, first of all, logistics is not declared as an industry by the government of India in this country, which we are fighting as MTOI to get the status. Unless we do that, no bank is today willing to give you a loan to do your business. Unless the government pushes it and says, yes, we respect all of you shipping guys, and it is an industry which is like every other industry, we are not going to move forward, which is the very good effort which we are doing as MTOI. This has already been made. There are lots of draft agreements given to the government on this, and I think they will come up with something and give us a status of a logistic industry. The moment that happens, that itself will attract not only talent but a lot of money. Once the money flows in at that scale, then automatically talent will also come in.
Agree.
Yeah, probably yes. But I think I agree with Karthik that pandemic has essentially emphasized the importance on supply chain and hopefully that interest sustains. Because if things become business as usual, I hope that supply chain doesn't lose its
another side to the overall thing is that while you all represent large industry players in the logistics pure field. Let me put myself in the consuming status and say that if I am a final beneficiary of all the effort being done by the pure play logistics partners, where does it lie as a responsibility of a consumer? So if I talk about Shopper Stop specifically, right, for us, the importance given to, and Karthik touched upon it, is that the importance today given to on-time delivery or getting your logistics partner on the seat of decision making in terms of a strategical call. So if you want to take a tactical call, it could be an e-commerce paid tactical call, or a call which you're doing for your consumer, or you're bringing technology in your industry to, like mobile apps. Each one of us has a mobile app, and most of the mobile apps are for us to use as consumers. When we are giving the power of consumption to ourselves, we are also giving the power of influencing that consumption to our logistics partner. So another important factor is that your customers should also become a great partner in trying to push the overall thought that the logistics partner and the supply chain organization behind bringing that product to your forefront is as important in the overall chain of things to happen. And that's where the reverse talent can also happen. We could become partners where we can hire talent. We can train them in talent in other aspects of the consumer facing side of it, and then provide them to you, because that sensitivity of consumer centricity is also important to be there at some sense in the new age logistic partnerships, right? That's what the Flipkarts of the world and Amazons of the world are doing, because they're wanting to listen to the customer and change aspects which they can influence the experience a customer gets finally. And that's where the whole logistics supply chain, more downstream and upstream, comes into play. So that's where I think organizations like us, and we have a training module for every employee who understands the importance of supply chain as soon as he comes into the organization, understands the processes which are done. We have a team of people who manage the aspect of, let's say they manage the landing base in every store, and they are an important partner where they are taken to the logistics partners' offices, taken to the facilities, and given them a on-ground experience to saying that this is what it is. And we hope one day there will be people who will get inspired and say, let me go back and work in that stream. I will become your back-end support and help groom a newer team member in the front-end part. And that journey will finally take a journey which is interesting, because you will get digital natives into the organization at both sides. And that helps you try and progress and bring that impressive collaborative effort from the consumer as well as the partner who is delivering your products or whatever opportunities in terms of projects across. So that's something which I think is an important journey we've taken. And I think that continues to bring some insights for us also.
Yeah, I agree. Sandeep, let me pick your brain on something else that you had mentioned. You had mentioned the role of technology and this whole digitalization and
yes.
in general.
Yes.
So how do you see that helping us in the
so fundamentally today the world is trying to become more efficient, and efficiency is today driven by technology. And I think Sanjay touched upon it, Shamila touched upon it, Karthik touched upon it. If you see the overall transformation from a vehicular transformation, which is happening in terms of how the vehicles come into it, or the way the roads are built today, and you add 40-50 kilometers of roads today, you are adding 8-9 kilometers of road every year. And that journey is now taken 6x, 7x as a journey. And it's predominantly driven by newer technology, new ways of doing things. Let's not put technology as only software. Let's not put technology. It's also making your internal logistics platforms inside a warehousing facility more smoother. It's not about everybody can afford robots, but everybody can still afford more efficient machinery. A machinery which does not take human power or does not need super fit humans only to operate within the logistics environment. Having cooling systems in the air in the environment where the logistic partner operates is a huge journey. India has monsoons. India has also 50-degree temperatures. Getting people into a container to lift goods without any technology support is primitive. We still see human carrying sacks. The day you have technology and tools which are affordable, effective, and also build in momentum for somebody saying, yes, I will go into the industry. That's what happened worldwide. So we compare ourselves to the best in the world, right? The fundamental difference is they've given human capital greater value than what we have given human capital greater value. The day we start recognizing that human capital industry status will bring that to the fast forward mode any case. But beyond that, even if it's small investments to be done by every logistics partner as well as the consumer. So us as a consumer will always work with third-party logistic partner, and they'll come back and say, I'll improve my facility. And this is the sharing of cost, or this is the sharing of time, or this is the sharing of talent. We should be willing as a consumer to participate, because finally somebody has to pay for it. and all the costs cannot sit in the logistics partner and not be paid by the consumer. It doesn't happen that way. Scale, volume, and efficiency will help build that momentum. But one day one has to start somewhere. So that's where I came back. And obviously, a younger audience is not digitally averse. They are digital natives. So if you give them technology and the ability to absorb is much faster than training somebody who spent 15, 20 years on an industry which did not anyway look at him to be trained at all. So that's something which we've done as a mistake. 15, 20 years, you would have an employee who's done maybe from ground level and region 3 levels up, but he's still not become management grade. We wouldn't have invested anything in terms of making him digitally savvy because we just expected him to learn on the go. Oh, this is a new software. These are the fine screens. This is how you fill the screen. This is what you need to know. You don't need to know from how it came, why it came, and what impact it creates. And that's rarely done. But I can tell you from an organization where I come and firmly where it believes in training people, we tell them, why is this technology changing? And if we changed our ERP system, the logistics partner are part of that change. They know why it is changing and what their effective understanding will help the organization move forward. And that's where I said that bringing younger audiences to it who are digital natives will help you also sustain them. What is retention for them? Why do they get excited by seeing somebody else doing something else in their peer group? So if there's a batch of 600 and 500 have gone to IT organizations and 300 have gone to a retail and 100 have gone to another industry, the logistics 10 people say, oh, he's doing something which is very exciting. We need to keep these guys exciting. The new generation or the Gen Z audience will continue to improve, to be partnering with you if you do 2 or 3 things right. Keep them excited and give them momentum to say that I will do something new tomorrow. You cannot be in a standstill environment saying that this is what we did 10 years back. This is how we'll operate 10 years from now. They're an impatient lot. That's the generation we are in. Second, they also are very sensitive to sustainability. They are very sensitive to environment rules. They also want to work with organizations who recognize those factors. Sometimes I somehow believe, little critical to the logistics industry, it took us time to start bringing those aspects into our trade, right? I can stand corrected, but that has happened in the last decade, but we took time, believing in sustainable environment processes, ensuring that our ability to look at those aspects as an important part, that attracts young talent. And today we face it in our industry also. They ask you, what are your values? Where are you going on the sustainable journey? How do you look at environment? And it happens as a consumer. So being part of a large channel, we all have to work together from the front to the back. Each one gives its contribution mix. And I'm sure, and like the chambers which are being built today and the audiences which are being spoken to, why not? People will find it interesting. And I also am a firm believer, it is time now to get industry status. It has been a long-standing issue. It needs to be understood by a lot of us that we are not asking for the sake of asking it. It is a high employment category. It needs to get the status it deserves.
Just adding to that, so we have a multimodal logistics warehouse. So AI and it becomes very, very important because we have different like pharma, we have vegetables. So it becomes more important that it has to be technologically, the person operating has to be more technologically sound because the labeling, the packing, so from watches, the high value goods. So it becomes very important for a person to be technologically sound because the time factor, like he says, the consumer, the ultimate consumer wants that. So in a multimodal facility, it becomes more important that technology be used, and that is happening now. So we are seeing more technology being used there too.
Okay, yeah, nice. Yeah,
I'd like to add something on this.
Inevitably.
Just take it some 20 years back. I was handling an assignment with a company. I was handling a zone for spare parts. And I remember my area manager used to go with a sack full and used to come back with a sack full of orders and sack full of checks of the payments. And once the payments used to come, then we used to plan for the dispatch, and almost 60 days we used to do. So the inventory turnovers or turnover of a particular consignment or over a year used to be very less. From that to working on a 3PL and reaching a stage where we are discussing AI is something immense changes or the steps which we have taken. But yes, what we have to see is this pace good enough to sustain with the pace of what the industry is moving on? That we have to actually really validate on. Regarding, I think one of the madam, she was saying on women training, women specific. Coming from a hardcore, for past 6 years, I'm handling this driver training assignment in the shop clinic. I feel that a woman who takes driving as a profession, her maintenance of a vehicle and her driving is much more beyond superior than any of the male which I come around, any male driver which I come around. We did this program with the Delhi government called Mission Parvartan. You can just Google it also, where we are trying to train around 180 women from the below the poverty line women and providing them with a license so that tomorrow they can be absorbed in the bus driving and daily various depots. So we are doing that experiment, and I'll say it experiment because 180 women, still finding 180 women with a valid LMB license who are willing to go for HMV driving, and they have to be passionate so that the retention after training has to be there. So it's more of an experiment, but yes, once you go into it, you find that how passionate these women are for this. Some of them even used to say कि sir मैं सड़क पे चलती हूँ, लोग बोलते हैं गाड़ी चल की यार लड़की होगी तभी गलत चला रही है. I want to prove that person wrong कि no, I drive a bus also. So that type of passion now women have what we see in our driver training institutes.
Yeah, nice. Actually, Sanjay, let me ask you a question from Dr. Atul, Mr. Atul Jain, who heads the supply chain for Nestle India. He has a question about the certification. He has asked, is there any regulation being planned to suggest minimum certified operators? Is there something in the planning?
We are looking and discussing with some government bodies like Director General of Training or something like that, where we are in discussion. At this juncture, I can't elaborate more on that. But some certification we are discussing with them. And yes, at our place we follow CMVR, Central Motor Vehicle Rules, and they have also increased the training period in latest the mandate which they have given. So they have increased the training period from to almost 38 hours, or 6 weeks. They have increased from 31 days. So that they already are doing it.
Okay.
Yes, we are discussing. I can connect with him offline, and once we reach that stage with this certification part, I can share with.
Sure. That would be interesting to know. Another question about the drivers. This question is from Mr. Amardeep Kurupwar. I will read the question as is. Are there any efforts from the point of view of psychological well-being of the drivers, as they are consistently driving away from their families for months apart, ill-treated by customers, firms, and people in the society during the journey?
That's very that's not a question actually. That's a full thought process actually. There are organizations which have done this, where they say like anybody like us, 9 to 5:30 or 6 o'clock job, why should driver be on duty for 24/7? So they work on a shuttle type of scenario where a truck starts from Delhi. They have a hub somewhere in Kotputli where the driver leaves the vehicle, and the vehicle coming from Bombay, he picks that and comes back in the evening back to his house. Similarly, a person who drives from Kotputli in Rajasthan, he takes it to Jaipur and gives the truck there. And somebody who's bringing another truck, he picks that and comes back to Kotputli. So that type of things are happening. But in these scenarios, only thing is that ownership of a driver for the truck or for the vehicle is not there. So in long run, what we have found, the maintenance of the vehicle has somehow suffered, which that customer saw that. Regarding the psychological part, we conduct our training courses, what we conduct in Ashok Lane Driver Training Institute, psychological, some part good behavior and woman-centric training like gender sensitization trainings, what we do. We do various soft skill training also. That's a part of the training curriculum. We cover that. But is that training adequate for the driver? That we are trying to validate and increase also.
Okay. Actually, one more question, since we are talking about drivers, is are we talking to vehicle manufacturers in actually making the cabin more comfortable, for example, for women drivers or in general for drivers, because driving is supposed to be this back it need not be this back-breaking experience, right? When they are driving for hours together.
It does. The driver vehicles which we have right now, BS6 model or this Captain model, they are much more comfortable for the drivers what we earlier used to be. Something like, a chassis-made driver from some Rajpur or some Sirhind, somewhere in Punjab or in Chandrika Transport Nagar. So these in comparison to those, a fully built vehicle of any OEM is much more comfortable, and it focuses on drivers' comforts in better way now. Small thing where he has to keep the water bottle, where he has to keep his hand, how he does, what is the sitting position he's comfortable with, adjustable seats, air-conditioned vehicles now, cabins now. So all those things are coming up, or they have come up actually. See, in any case, a cabin design is more or less also focused on improving the comfort of a driver.
Yes, Dr. Sharmila, go ahead.
75% of the vehicles that are moving on the road in India are single owner drivers. Now, how you expect Ashok Leyland to say, I'll give you Mr. X air-conditioned cabin, but if you want to pay, you buy it. It is not that there are big organizations which have this. Coming to a point of drivers being overworked, there is a beautiful company, I think, which has come up with a very nice Greek name, where they have ensured that every driver reaches home. So they have two drivers, one going on one way, stops on his way home, and they ensure that they employ the drivers in such a manner, on such a route, that the route is on the way, so the night they are in their home. And somebody else picks it up and is spending the day on the route. So there are many of these companies which have come up with these innovations. It's not that we don't have all these beautiful systems that we have doing. Forget that. We have lady drivers now. There's a company called Hey Didi. I don't know if you guys have heard about it. It's an all women driven company which is handling all the Amazon delivery. So as you rightly said,
yes, there is, yes,
the comforts of the drivers are, it's like I saying I want to drive a Mercedes or I want to drive a Maruti. My comfort is my own. When 75% of the trucks are owned by single, Ashok Leyland will give you a fantastic truck, but what you do to it afterwards, you don't maintain it, what can he do? And even though we have government laws for fitness certificate.
Sorry. Please continue, sorry.
So even though we have government rules for fitness certificate, everything possible, still you are able to get away with it, then how do you blame manufacturers? They are doing the best what they can.
And as far as lady drivers are concerned, madam, we had this interview line for recruitment driver line for some European logistic company. And there was this woman, she said, no, I also want to appear for this test. And she was the one who passed the entire test of the European company with a flying color. And she was given a valid visa also to come to Hungary and join, along with her husband actually also.
Today in America, a truck driver earns more money than an engineer. Did you know that?
Yes, absolutely right. In this case
and
also,
it's a very respectable
the
job over there.
Was more than the supervisor.
And they're treated like kings. They're given, when they do these railroad movements and they're moving, they stop in a hotel. You should see the way I wonder first, who the hell is coming that they're treating him so well? And you find he's a truck driver. So, it depends on, how we are going to look at it and with what perspective for us. Can you imagine 20 years back when I used to enter a room and meeting and say, even my own, what do? I do logistics. What? Logistics. Even though we bought DHL to India, then I said, DHL, the courier company, DHL, so I work there. No, still don't understand. Okay, I'm a truck driver. One day finally I said, but there are no lady truck drivers in India. So I said logistics. I said courier company. I said everything you didn't understand. So finally I had to say, I'm a truck driver. And that you understood very well in 2 seconds. So times have changed from me being a truck driver to now it's being called logistics.
Very true.
About time. Okay, let me take another question, actually moving away from our current discussion from an audience. So here is a question from Mr. Kapil Raghuvanshi, who is a warehouse manager at LAPP India. He asks, what are the emerging job roles? Will there be revised compensation to attract better operator level talent? Anybody can pick up.
So basically the way things are changing or landscape is changing in overall order processing, I would consider logistic in part of it. So what I had seen as a project phase in few of the big organization or multinational organization is such that, like WhatsApp, there are apps which are connected to the ERPs, and it's available on Sales Manager mobile. The moment they reach to the big partners or customer, they just check the availability. They will put the code of the product, and within some seconds that app will throw location wise stock availability and goods in transit. The moment the person would say that, okay, to this customer code, this many pieces at this location required, it will, if it's clean, if there is no credit issue, it will automatically throw a picking to warehouse. And because warehouse is ASRS, automated storage and retrieval system enabled, it will automatically go, machine will go to picking location. It will pick out the goods, put that into the bin and consolidate, and it will throw it directly to the end part for confirmation and invoicing. The moment invoicing is done, it's just the transport supervisor who sits into the warehouse need to pick up the goods and load it. So to do all this process, picking is gone, your confirmation is gone. So what is required? Humans are still required, because without that, this process would not work. So they need to learn this technology, that how it works, and that way they can grow. And that way, what they talk about compensation would help them.
So we have an operation incentive for this. So we have an operation incentive. So we incentivize quarterly, depending, we just look at their work, and they have, so we quarterly, we do an incentive program. So this is something everybody is going forward doing it. So we're doing an operation incentive.
Yeah. Also, just wanted to add to this, logistics today has come to a business like our stores. So for example, all our retail stores are fulfillment centers, right? And logistics finally is a fulfillment business because of e-commerce and the omni-channel journey the retail industry is taking through. So same thing, we are also creating newer roles in the organization as being a retailer of being able to service. So every store has a store fulfillment center within the store. So every retail store has a space which is a fulfillment center to manage customer processing and customer ordering, which works like a small logistics center itself. So these are the new roles which are coming up, where we are hiring talent from pure play logistics institutions, as well as grooming our retail talent into becoming logistic talent in the organization. So these are new roles which are emerging within the industry also.
Just a good side on this. So the newer roles are almost like the old roles, but because of the glamour, so people want new names on them, like maybe it's an operational thing. So we are giving new names. So from the HR side, when we employ, we're giving new names for older roles, so that it just, so when you are maybe on your wedding card, or when you are going for another job, like I was team lead, and all sorts of names. So it becomes a challenge for us, HR. Every year we are looking for new names. I actually go through the Google to just find out whether we can give new names. Some of the jobs are the same in that way. It's just that people want that glamour to them. So, yeah. And what happens is, in the warehouse, we cannot give managers, or maybe even the transport, we can't give managers and assistant managers. But everybody wants to be a manager, an assistant manager, and then it becomes very redundant, because he reaches, if they have been with us, they reach a salary of high. We can't promote them to be GMs. So, so it becomes a little tough. So sometimes the job is the same, but the position and the posting is very difficult.
Actually, yes. I got confused just before the session. I was looking at Naukri and Naukri.com, and I was searching for logistics and supply chain jobs. Apparently, there are 160,000 plus job postings on Naukri right now, with really amazing job descriptions, the way Femina was mentioning. So very.
So I remember when at some point, even at IIT, when we were recruiting people for internship and all that, the professor over there told us that the course for logistics had a different name. And the moment they changed it to warehousing, and there were not many students applying for that course, but the moment they changed the name, next year they got a full thing. So I guess even when it's an IIT, then what about the lower papers if people want something?
Yeah. I mean, I have a similar story to tell. Yeah. So I mean, I used to offer a elective in supply chain, and in my campus, the course was not getting that big a subscription. And one of my friends from an IIM came visiting me, and I showed him the course outline, saying, "Tell me what's wrong with it." And he told me just the title, just change the title.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
because
Yes.
I mean, yeah, I mean, my friend is also from the supply chain domain, and he offers something similar there, and
Yes.
and it did. By the way, it did work. It did work.
Yes.
But I'll give you another side to the overall aspect. If you see my designation, there is a word called customer care associate and whatever role I play. At Shopper Stop, the belief is that finally you have to believe that you are at the lowest end of the overall journey. If I'm a retailer, my role is to service a customer. So every role in the organization first starts with the role which is the lowest in terms of the designation portfolio, but starts as that. Even if you are a managing director, your role is first of a customer care associate, and then whatever you are supposed to be as a role. So that's another take on designations to make them glamorous. But other way of looking at it is the belief has to be there that finally every logistics partner, starting from the warehousing kid who just joins maybe after college and wants to start off just doing in picking and packing, is as important. So his role is also customer care associate in this organization. My role is a customer care associate. And after that, whatever I've maybe over a period of experience or the opportunities I got in life, I have as a credible approach. So that's one thing which I feel we as logistic industry partners should also do. Try and take pride in saying that, yes, you are here today. You might not become not everybody will become a senior manager or a general manager over a period of time. But the belief is that because you're servicing my customer, your role and my role is not very different. I aspire to become what I have. You can aspire to become this, and then take that aspirational journey forward. I think the younger generation looks up to that way. We've built this organization, at least in Shopper Stop, for the last decade. Every single role has the customer care associate name as the first designation, and everything else just falls after it. So that's one way of looking at it.
It's true, but it only a senior person can understand that. You cannot have that to a junior person. It's very difficult.
No, I'll tell you the story. It started with the junior most guy, and same for the wedding card. The guy said, "I'm not getting married." Why? Because nobody believes that, as a sales associate, tum sales associate ki naukri kya karoge? Then the managing director of that time and our mentor said that, yes, I will also link my name to this designation and make it worthwhile. Say your CEO is also a CCA first and everything else later. And that's how his wedding card could proudly carry the word called customer care associate at Shopper Stop. So that's the journey where it started. We continue to believe that, and that belief system, obviously every organization has a value system. We have this value system as us. It can work for things. Obviously glamorizing names and giving them credible portfolios works, but yes, it's a journey which we will have to take as we progress.
Okay. Okay, we are just a couple of minutes out. So let us go around the table. 1 minute closing remarks. Sandeep, you can start.
Yeah. So for me, it's very simple. Talent is critical for the sustenance of this industry, but talent alone will not be the overall thing. Whatever we've discussed to make this industry shine out, get status, get technology intervention strongly, believe in the system that it has to become more cost effective, cost intensity in whatever we do, and obviously build infrastructure, technology to work towards getting this talent, and obviously create platforms more and more where people can look up to people who have successfully managed logistic organizations and grown. While not everybody in the sphere will grow to a certain level, but the base team members who come into the organization also are given credible opportunities to multitask. I think that's an important part which is coming out. Initial comments on that. We should create a multi-talented, multitasking force, because workforces will have to evolve. We have not evolved over a period of time. We have evolved in technology. We have evolved in bringing more and more people on board. But the talent deficit to get digital natives into the business is also an important part of the overall change. That's where I'll keep my thoughts for others to share.
Sure. Thanks, Sandeep. Sanjay, your parting thoughts.
Yeah. Hi. See, I'll just drill on same thing. Training has to be a part of the entire process of a logistic company. That has to be something inbuilt in the system itself. Whether it's in-house or whether it's on online mode or it's outsourced, but somehow a driver or any employee per se has to be has to get a periodic training for him to be at par with what the business or what the technology, how the technology is changing. So that is what I'll like to add here. And we also do various trainings like BS6 or various other virtual training sessions that can be also inbuilt by a organization by itself also. Great. Thank you.
Sure, sure. Thanks. Dr. Sharmila?
You know, we always talk about role models. Who do we like to become? Somebody who say, I want to be a Mother Teresa, I want to be Mahatma Gandhi, I want to be Priyanka Chopra, or I want to be Amitabh Bachchan. Does anybody ever talk, I want to be XYZ of the logistics industry? I never find it. I would like to leave an impression behind where people say, you know, there was a lady who did it and I would like to follow in her footsteps. So I personally believe that we should leave a legacy where people want to come into this business, want to look at us as role models and want to say, yes, I want to join the logistics. So for me, Parivartan Sansar Ka Niyam hai, like Gita says, change is inevitable in life. And I would like everybody to do that.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Karthik.
Yeah. So for me, it's first creating value. Like everyone mentioned about one of the transport company who bring in the concept of milk run. That driver would take a break, but vehicle will continue. That way, creating values. Then bringing in the aspiration, as Dr. Sharmila right away said, creating that aspiration so that people come in. And third and most important is, though we are in the right direction as a country, but there is a lot to do in the infrastructure front. So how well connected we are with all three modes of transport, interconnectivity as well as individual connectivity. It is still lacking somewhere. It will really help to bring in this vertical of the industry in the forefront.
Sure, sure. Thanks. Yeah, lastly, Amina.
Everybody was talking about having agencies and being part of committees and things. I would like the customers also to be part of the logistics to understand this, because the people like Amazon, Flipkart all make very unreasonable demands to the logistic provider, making it not very sustainable and putting a lot of pressure on the workforce. So they set very like our Shoppers Stop, they have these timelines and they push the pressure on the drivers, the laborers, which makes it very difficult. So this pushes up the pressure and it's not sustainable in the long run. You know, having a 10-minute, so you have a small shop right here, Zepto, Pickly, all these people having small things. I don't know how hygienic and clean those are, and in the long run will they be sustainable? So part of these committees which these governments and our associations are forming, I would like even the customers to be part of it, to see the problems that we face on the whole, and not one-on-one with each warehouse or each company, but to come as a whole, as a committee, and to see what the problems, so that they can understand and how the labor force or the drivers work, because it's ultimately it is their understanding which will help us run our warehouses efficiently and better.
Yeah, very well said. Very well said. Okay, actually, let me check with Riaz if there are any more audience questions. I read out a few that I was told about. Riaz, are there any more audience questions?
We don't have any further questions, sir, from the audience.
Okay, okay. Yeah, and we are already 4 minutes past. So thank you for this wonderful session. Thank you, panelists, each one of you. Thank you for sharing your views. Very insightful, very interesting. So let's continue the discussion, but let's end the session here. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you all. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Bye.